Hi, hello, long time no see. And I've been wanting to come on here and make a video like this just so I can start back up and get back into making the type of content I was making. But I felt like I obviously needed to come in here and explain my, I don't even know, 5-month long absence. And that's due, as you would have guessed it, seeing this video, to the fact that I am pregnant. I am due in May, and early May, and it's such a sweet blessing for our family. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not, mainly because I have endometriosis, and with my first daughter, it took us a long time and a surgery to get pregnant, and then with my second daughter, it happened right away. But then there's a gap between this baby and my last baby. And when I had an ultrasound, they did see a lot of endometriosis back. So I put it in God's hands, and honestly, I wasn't that worried about it. I told myself, if it happens, wonderful. It's obviously always a blessing to have more children and grow your family. And if it doesn't happen, I also have the most beautiful 2 blessings in the world, and I'm happy with our family as is. So I entirely put it in God's hands, but it did happen. It happened rather fast, and we are so pleased about it. So now we have a baby boy, our first baby boy, and he's due in early May, around the time that my dad passed away. So that's a bittersweet feeling. It feels like a blessing during the darkest of times, honestly, because that's a date obviously around that time where it was really marking for me. It was a really sad time, and I've only ever had 1 anniversary of his passing. So now this baby is due to be born around that date. And that feels like a light in the darkest of times. And obviously it's very poetic in a way how God works those types of miracles. A lot has changed. So you might be hearing my children playing. My youngest used to take a nap when I would film videos. Now she's done her nap, and she's in a phase where she's very clingy. She needs to be held. She wants to sit on my lap whenever she's eating. If I'm going to pick up a glass of water in the kitchen, she has to come with me and hold my hand doing so. So she's very tied to me, and I suspect it's because obviously she knows there's a new baby coming and joining the family. So her rank in the family changes. But yeah, so it's been a little bit difficult to find the time to sit down and film this video. This is my second time trying it. I tried it a bit earlier today when the kids were outside in the backyard, and she was in within 5 minutes, and then she was obviously demanding my attention and cutting paper and making lots of noise. So I didn't think the video was going to be it was very distracting for me, let alone for someone watching it. So I figured I might as well refilm it. Hopefully I have a little bit of time before the door starts to open and she starts to head down. But yeah, we are so happy. The reason why I was absent is mainly because my first trimester is a blur. It was so difficult. I was very sick, very nauseous the entire time. And it started really suddenly, and it always does for me. But this time it also lasted much longer, to the point where even now I have bouts of nausea. I guess it's not really morning sickness when it's all day or different times of the day, but I have bouts of nausea still, whereas that was gone with my daughters. So I have like quite different symptoms. But the first trimester, when the nausea started, I was like out of commission. I was laying on the couch, really sick, full aversions to so many things, so many smells. Like coffee was the worst, still is, not so bad. I can't drink it. I found a way to drink it actually. I make myself a mocha. My husband makes espresso, and then I take a shot, and I really mask the coffee scent. I add almond milk, cacao powder, a little bit of dark chocolate, a little bit of vanilla extract, a splash of maple syrup, and then I add my homemade marshmallows on top, and it's such a treat. It's not really a coffee, it's more of a treat midday that I have, but it's been a really nice one, and it gives me a bit of a caffeine boost, which I desperately need. But yeah, for the first, I don't know, 3 months, close to 4 months, it was really rough. I was lying around a lot. I would go to bed early. I would nap, which is something I never do. So even our homeschooling went out the window, which I felt so bad about for the longest time, because I wasn't able to just be present as I wanted to be, obviously, for my daughters. And I felt terrible about it, and I had so many doubts, and obviously you're hormonal at the same time, and you're wondering, oh, are they better off being in a school versus at home? But I'm happy we're over that hill now. But during that time it was really rough, and so obviously finding the time to film videos or even be creative, think of subjects. I wasn't even reading. There was no mother culture happening. There was no learning happening, not just for my children. Well, there's always learning happening for children, even if I didn't think it was learning as per my standards, because obviously it was very child-led, which was also a wonderful thing. And I'm going to make a separate video about that, because I think I've learned a lot through that, through relinquishing control and relinquishing the need to be the one who facilitates everything. But that's a separate video. But for my own sake, like, I wasn't learning, I wasn't doing anything. I was pretty disconnected even from people around me. It was really hard to go places. It was hard to talk. It was hard to walk. Like, every time I would try to go for a walk, I would feel so sick. And that was during fall, which is my favorite time of the year. Like, we live right by a forest. It's my favorite time to go on walks. We spend so much time outside, and honestly, I feel like I don't remember much of fall. But, that's the type of things our bodies go through in those first few months, and luckily for me, it has subsided. I could not imagine going through having sickness my whole pregnancy. If that is you, I commend you. I know that as women, we are so strong, and we also often forget what it is that we went through the first time around or second time around, and that's beautiful, because obviously we want to bring more children into our family and into the world, and for that to happen, we need to have some sort of memory lapse forgetting all these hard parts. But obviously for me, it's more fresh right now. But yeah, that to say, there's not a day that goes by where I don't feel like I'm so blessed to be able to have this little life growing inside of me, and feeling him kick, feeling him move. And what's different as well about this pregnancy is it's my first pregnancy since I've embraced God and Christianity again. I don't know if I've ever really been a Christian. Like, I was Christian by tradition. I was Serbian Orthodox Christian by tradition. Hence the tree, by the way. We keep it until after Orthodox Christmas, which has just passed, and now just like having it around. But we will be taking our tree apart, but I thought it was a nice little background while it's here. But yeah, like, I had that tradition in me, but I never knew the Word of God. I never really focused on reading the Bible. I never had a relationship with God the way that I do now. And so it's my first pregnancy going through it with my sense of control fully relinquished, where I feel at peace that everything is in the hands of God. I'm not concerned about how previous pregnancies have been, certain complications I've had. I don't think that I'm not gonna have them, but I just think that I've relinquished that control. And that's something that I've worked hard last year. It was something I wanted to do, to leave my life in the hands of God to a bigger degree than I was ever able to before. So this time it's just, I approach this pregnancy so differently, and I pray over the baby, and I feel obviously so blessed to be able to carry another life into the world and to be able to grow our family. And yeah, it's been a really sweet time. So then when my morning sickness subsided, we had a lot of catching up to do. So working back on homeschooling, on our home, which was a mess, which my husband, thankfully, was so good about maintaining. He was like, he'd be working full time, then he'd take the kids out so I could have some time to myself. He'd go like, he would be the one taking them outside on walks to the park, to the forest, and then we would have very quickly made meals, like lots of takeout, lots of pre-made food, like rotisserie chicken that's already made, just like very unhealthy things, but it's stuff we needed to do in that season to go through it. But yeah, my husband was the one really picking up the slack. So when my morning sickness, like that magical day when you wake up and suddenly everything feels slightly better, and like, well, not slightly better, like 10 times better than it did the day before, that's when I started concentrating more on reintegrating our habits and really keeping the house going, keeping the homeschooling back on track. And so I just did not have the time to sit down and make a video like this or any other videos. And then I had so many ideas for around Christmas time as well, and then Christmas came, and then I got into the groove of just enjoying my time with my children, and the Advent, which was such a magical time this year. This was my first time really spending Advent as a Christian and lighting Advent candles, going to church for Advent. It's the first time we've had a Christ-centered Advent season and Christmas time. So it was a really beautiful time for us. Homeschooling wise, like I said, a lot of it was put aside for quite a few months. So if you've watched my channel before, you will know that I have two daughters. So I have a kindergartner and I have a 3-year-old, so like a preschooler, and we're Charlotte Mason homeschoolers. So I was very much against using any curriculum for kindergarten. And we were doing the morning basket, lots of read aloud time. We integrated some things before the Charlotte Mason timeline. So I'm thinking teaching my daughter how to read, as well as starting some copy work, because my daughter was eager to read, and then she is writing a lot, and I just really wanted to help her work on the letter formation. So we did integrate those more formal components earlier than I probably would have. But other than that, I made a video before. We were focusing mainly on habit training, on spending a lot of time reading and exposing our children to beautiful, good, and true ideas. And then also cultivating our love for nature through spending a lot of time outdoors and exploring nature. So we did a lot of nature study, and that went out the window. I was doing the 1,000 hours outside for that was my 3rd year. I just couldn't keep up with it. So I took that tracker off my fridge, threw it in the recycling bin, and the morning basket, I was not in a place where I was able to prepare the materials for it and then deliver those materials. Like I said, even talking, even reading was just making me so sick. Like, I don't know, like if you've ever had morning sickness, you know that feeling in your throat when even just speaking out loud creates that like sickness where you feel like you're about to throw up. So that meant we needed to switch things up, and I needed to open myself up to approaches that weren't necessarily aligned with me. One of them being unschooling, which we've done a lot of, and the other one being just using a curriculum in kindergarten. So we integrated a curriculum. We're using the Good and the Beautiful language arts curriculum, and then the math curriculum, and then we also have the handwriting practicing guide. So every day we work on that, and honestly that is working really great. My daughter loves it. I don't know why I was so resistant to expose her to a curriculum, because it's something that she actually enjoys doing, and she often asks to do more than the one lesson a day. But that for me meant that we weren't completely neglecting our homeschooling, our home education, but doing things quite differently from how I envisioned it for kindergarten is just something we needed to do in this season of life. So I have zero regrets. We're actually going to continue doing our Good and the Beautiful curriculum for the rest of the term, for the rest of the year, and we'll see what we'll do next year. I might use their math curriculum next year. I'm not entirely sure. That's something that I'm actually actively working on right now. Refining exactly what our first grade or Form 1 year is going to look like, because obviously I'm going to have a newborn. I really want to be prepared as much as I can now before May, and know exactly, have everything lined up. I want to have my book list lined up, and I hope even to have the schedule for the year set up. So I'm looking at a few different options for that. You know, I was looking at the CMEC, but I don't think we'll be going with them for a number of reasons that don't seem to fit our profile. And then Ambleside Online is a top contender. And I also am looking into the Alveary. I still have a lot of questions that I need answered for the Alveary, and they've been so responsive to me on social media, so that's been really wonderful. My main concern about them is the more modern book selection list. I wonder how much it deviates from the true Charlotte Mason method and the principle of truth, goodness, and beauty. I think there's a lot of modern day junk out there, and I feel like, you know, I'm not sheltering my children from that for their life. It's just that in these early years, I want them to develop the appetite to want to read these classics, to have their mind inclined towards the goodness, truth, and beauty that is so prevalent in these books, you know, and we read them now. So I'm a little reluctant to deviate from that. I wish I could see a full list of books that the Alveary has, so that we could make up our mind about that. But part of me really thinks we're going to be going with Ambleside Online, and then maybe I'll be adding something like a Gentle Feasts morning basket bundle that they have. I don't know what they call it, like the morning time curriculum, because I browsed through that, and they have some really beautiful artwork. They have beautiful hymns in there. So I think that would work well for us. And I would love to hear from you guys if you are using any of those curriculums, or if there's even a fourth or fifth curriculum that I haven't even mentioned that you felt worked really well for your family, why that is. Because honestly, we have so many options, even in the Charlotte Mason world. There are so many options out there, which is so wonderful. It's so wonderful, I think, to be able to have the work done for us. But at the same time, you know, the more options you have, the harder it is to pick and choose and narrow down exactly what it is that you want. And it's also hard to know what it is that you need until you get started and start with a curriculum, go through it, and see if it works for you and your family. So I understand that part, but I just want to be prepared, obviously, knowing the circumstances, starting formal education and having a newborn. Yeah. But that's enough rambling for now from me. I just wanted to come in here and say hello again. Say I've missed talking to you guys. I haven't really been present on YouTube at all, even just watching other people's videos. I don't even know what they're up to. So I want to reintegrate the world again in that sense. And I hope to see you around. I would love to hear from you, how you've been, how your homeschooling year has been going. I've been getting some really lovely comments while I've been away, and I've been reading them, and honestly, I've been really wanting to film this video so that I can reconnect with all of you, because this has been such a beautiful turn of events for me, starting this channel and documenting our homeschooling journey. You know, I'm not at all an expert. We are like very much getting started. We are in our second year now, and we're not even in formal education, but I really just like sharing what we are learning and sharing about my faith journey as well, which has been very prevalent in my life and which has been the guiding principle behind my motherhood and behind my education. And I feel, you know, as mothers, I don't know, I assume other people feel like that too, but I have a lot of growth to do, but motherhood has been so sanctifying in terms of getting me closer to God and showing me what's really important and getting me away from the worldly concerns and the worldly worries. And so that's what I want to share on this channel, and I love connecting with all of you who are of that same mindset and who are going through that. And so many of you as well have commented on a recent video about how you would love to leave your work to be able to stay at home with your babies or homeschool your children. And I know that feeling of, you know, feeling so isolated in a world that looks quite different. Like, I think on YouTube, in our community of homeschoolers, we can feel like everyone we know online homeschools or is living this lifestyle, but the truth is, where I live, I'm the only one who's living it. So having this community has been a beautiful blessing for me. And I want to say thank you if you're watching this video, that you're here, and I'm really excited to be back. I'm really hoping that I can make more consistent videos and get back into the groove of things. But again, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone.